There's a truth that almost no one dares to say, and when someone does, it sounds offensive. It's not a lack of effort that keeps most people stagnant. It's playing the wrong game. While some spend years believing that working harder will solve everything, others silently operate under completely different rules. Rules that aren't taught in school, nor openly discussed. Rules that follow politics guided by reality, not by ideals. And here's the point that bothers me. It doesn't matter how hard you try if you don't understand the board. Because in the real world, the end justifies the means. And those who understand this early on have an advantage. Those who don't become pawns in someone else's game. Perhaps you've felt this before. That strange feeling that some people are moving too fast, while you seem to be running in place. And no, it's not luck. It's not special talent either. It's structure. It's strategy. It's perception. It's knowing when to act, and above all, when not to act. Machiavelli spoke about this brutally. It's better to be feared than loved, but above all, avoid being hated. Translating this to the current world, it's not enough to be good at what you do. You need to understand how the game is played. You need to master not only what you deliver, but how you are perceived. You need to build something that works even when you're not present. Because those who depend only on their own effort will always be one step behind those who build systems. And that's exactly what you're going to start seeing now. There are 3 games happening simultaneously, and most people don't even know they exist. While some remain trapped in the cycle of trading time for money, others are using leverage. While some try to prove value, others control perception. While some chase after earning more, others ensure they never lose. And when you understand these games, something changes. You stop playing on autopilot and start playing with intention. And maybe, just maybe, that's the moment you realize that everything you've been taught so far was incomplete. If something inside you awakened while listening, don't ignore that feeling. This channel isn't about videos. It's about memories. Remember who you were before the fear, before the exhaustion, before the silence. Each new video here is a different reflection of your own soul, an invitation to understand what the world never taught you. The power you seek outside has always been within you. If you feel that this journey speaks to what lives silently within you, sign up now. Not to follow yet another creator, but to reconnect with something the world tried to make you forget. Because here, every word was made to heal, each reflection to awaken, and each video serves as a reminder. You are not alone on the path back to yourself. Click on subscribe and turn the algorithm into a daily reminder of who you really are. He begins by understanding an uncomfortable truth that most avoid facing. As long as his time is the primary currency, he will always be limited. It may seem harsh, but that's exactly what Machiavelli would imply when talking about decisions based on real human nature. The world doesn't reward isolated effort. It rewards strategy. And here comes the first shock. Working more doesn't solve anything. Working better doesn't solve anything either. If everything still depends directly on the hours he puts in, the game changes when he realizes that income can no longer be tied to the clock. It's like a doctor who only earns when he sees patients. However good he is, there's an invisible ceiling. Now, when he starts observing people who truly accumulate wealth, he notices a silent pattern. They don't sell time, they build systems. And this demands a profound, almost uncomfortable internal change because it goes against everything they've been taught since childhood. Politics guided by reality, not ideals, requires him to abandon the fantasy that effort alone solves everything. It doesn't. And the sooner he accepts this, the sooner he starts playing a different game. So he learns to see the 3 types of leverage that really matter: work, capital, and that which doesn't ask for permission: code and media. At first, he even uses other people's work, understanding that no one grows alone. Later, he begins to study capital, even with little money, understanding how assets work, stocks like Apple, ETFs like the S&P 500, or even small digital businesses. But the real leap happens when he discovers permissionless leverage. A video can reach millions, code can run infinitely, content can sell while he sleeps. This is virtu and fortuna happening together, skill combined with opportunity. And here's something subtle. He stops thinking like an executor and starts thinking like an architect. Instead of asking, "What do I do today?" he starts asking, "What do I build today that will continue to work tomorrow?" It seems simple, but this question changes everything, because now he's no longer just playing, he's designing the board. The transition from laborer to systems architect isn't pretty nor quick, and definitely not comfortable. They will make mistakes, they will try to create something that doesn't work, they will feel like they are wasting time, and this is where many give up. But the few who persevere understand that they are building assets that work 24/7. A YouTube channel, a digital product, an audience, a well-structured funnel, all of this becomes their own loyal army, exactly as Machiavelli describes. And this army doesn't sleep, doesn't ask for a raise, and doesn't complain. It only executes. But there's a detail that few realize. When they start creating these assets, something else happens. People's perception of them begins to change. And this opens up a new kind of game, much more subtle, where it's not enough to have value, you have to appear valuable. And that's exactly where the next layer begins to reveal itself. He reaches a point where he realizes something almost disconcerting. Value is not objective. It's perception, and this completely changes how he positions himself in the world. Because look, two people can deliver exactly the same result, but one charges 10 times more and is still chosen. Why? Because they master the appearance of virtue. And this isn't about deceiving, but about understanding how the game really works. Machiavelli already made this clear. It's not enough to be, you have to appear to be. He begins to notice that whoever is always available, always responding immediately, always accepting any condition, is automatically seen as ordinary. And ordinary in the market is cheap. Politics guided by reality, not by ideals, demands that he abandon the idea that being good is enough. It's not enough. He needs to communicate value even before delivering value. And this begins with how he presents himself, writes, speaks, positions himself. Every detail becomes part of building that perception. So he applies a silent but powerful law, the law of concealment. He stops being available all the time. He stops responding immediately. He stops accepting every opportunity. And curiously, the less available he becomes, the more desirable he becomes. It's counterintuitive, but it works. Because scarcity generates value, he understands that charging more isn't just about money. It's a signal of positioning, of confidence, of authority. Think of brands like Apple. They aren't the cheapest, and yet they are desired. Why? Because they dominate perception. He starts doing the same at his level. If he provides a service, he repositions his offer. If he creates content, he raises the visual and narrative standard. If he sells something, he builds context before the offer. This is the calculated use of force. Not brute force, but strategic force. He's not just competing, he's shaping the battlefield. And whoever understands this begins to avoid being hated because they don't engage in direct warfare. They control the game without appearing to be controlling it. From there, he does something even more strategic. He completely reshapes his professional identity. He stops being just another one and starts occupying a specific space in people's minds. He's no longer just a video editor. He's the guy who transforms videos into retention machines. He's no longer just someone who sells products. He's someone who solves a specific problem in a unique way. This creates indispensability. And when someone becomes indispensable, the game changes level. He stops competing on price and starts competing on scarcity. But there's a critical point here. Many try to force this image without having the structure behind it and end up collapsing. That's why constant adaptability is essential. Adjusting, improving, refining. Because in the end, reputation is a living game. And when he starts to master this game, he realizes that it's not just about growing, but about surviving in the long term. And then a new, even colder and more strategic layer emerges, where the winner isn't the one who accelerates the most, but the one who lasts the longest. He finally understands something that completely changes how he sees money and power. Wealth has no finish line. There is no "I've arrived." Whoever believes that inevitably relaxes and loses. The real game is infinite, and that requires a different mindset, colder, more strategic, more patient. Machiavelli would call this understanding the true nature of power. It is not conquered once, it is maintained continuously. And here comes the most important rule of all, which few truly follow. Never lose money. It seems simple, but it isn't. Because the human impulse is to risk too much when winning, or to despair when losing. He learns to control that. He learns that the goal is not to win quickly, but to stay in the game. It's like an investor who avoids impulsive bets and focuses on consistency, preferring to earn 10% a year for decades than to try to double everything in months and go broke in the process. This is politics guided by reality, not by ideals. So he applies a strategy that few fully understand, the barbell strategy. He protects most of what he builds, 90% in security, stability, and predictability. This could be recurring income, conservative investments, or solid assets. And the other 10%, that's calculated risk. New projects, bets, bold ideas. This is the calculated use of force in its purest form. He doesn't put everything on the line, but he doesn't stand still either. For example, he might maintain an income base with fixed clients or already validated products while testing new funnels, new niches, or new offers. Or he might invest mainly in stable ETFs while allocating a small portion to crypto, startups, or asymmetric opportunities. This creates a brutal advantage. He never goes broke, but always has a chance to grow exponentially. It's the balance between virtù and fortuna, the ability to protect, the courage to advance. And then he embodies the most underestimated behavior of all, that of the waiting predator. While most react to chaos, news, and crises, he observes, he doesn't despair. He doesn't change everything with every trend. He doesn't chase every bright opportunity. He chooses. He waits. He attacks at the right moment. This is constant adaptability combined with emotional control. Because deep down, the greatest enemy isn't the market, it's impulsiveness. And here comes an inevitable psychological update. He needs to kill envy, stop seeking justice in the world, and abandon the need to show everything he's doing. He begins to build in silence, without announcing plans, without external validation, because he understands that those who talk too much give away the game prematurely. And it is in this strategic silence that he begins to operate at a level that few can even perceive. He realizes that none of these games work if his mind remains programmed like most people's. And here begins the hardest part. It's not technical, it's internal. He needs to kill his envy, not ignore it. Kill it completely. Because every time he looks at someone's success with resentment, he shuts down his own ability to learn. Meanwhile, those who play the right game do the opposite. They dissect, they observe, they analyze, they ask, how was this built? Instead of comparing themselves emotionally, they begin to position themselves strategically. If they see someone growing on YouTube, they don't criticize. They study the title, the thumbnail, the retention. If they see someone selling well, they don't complain. They analyze the offer, the funnel, the copy. These are decisions based on real human nature, accepting that success leaves clues, and those who learn to read these clues accelerate. Those who ignore them repeat the same cycle. And here's where something uncomfortable comes in. The world isn't against him. He just hasn't learned how to play yet. Then he abandons another dangerous illusion, the idea of justice. Because deep down, he realizes that the market doesn't reward effort, it rewards leverage. Two people can work equally hard, but one earns much more because they understood the game. And accepting this liberates. It liberates because he stops complaining and starts taking a stand. He stops thinking, this isn't fair, and starts thinking, how does this work? And this change is brutal, because now he assumes total responsibility. He understands that the end justifies the means, not in the sense of being unethical, but in the sense of being strategic. He no longer does what looks good, he does what works, and that includes adjusting behavior, communication, positioning. It's like someone switching from amateur mode to professional mode. And professionals don't play to look good. They play to win without being hated, maintaining the appearance of virtue while executing with precision. And finally, he adopts the quietest and at the same time most powerful strategy of all, silence. He stops announcing plans, stops talking about what he's going to do, stops seeking validation before execution. Because he understands something that few realize. When he talks too much, he receives too many opinions, and that contaminates his focus. So he builds in the dark. He tests without warning. He makes mistakes without an audience. He adjusts without pressure. And when he appears, it's already ready. This creates an absurd advantage. While others are debating ideas, he's already executing. While others are seeking approval, he's already reaping the rewards. This is having your own loyal armies, systems, assets, and skills that function independently of external opinion. And it's at this point that he realizes he's no longer playing the game as before. He's completely leveled up. And now, finally, he's ready to see what most don't even realize exists. Now, the question is no longer whether this makes sense. It's what you're going to do with it. Because deep down, you already understand. You've realized it's not about working harder, nor about waiting for the right moment. It's about playing the right game. So tell me, are you going to continue trading time for money like most people? Or are you going to start building something that works for you? Are you going to keep trying to prove your worth? Or are you going to learn to control perception? Are you going to chase after earning more? Or are you going to first ensure you never lose? The truth is simple, but uncomfortable. No one will tell you when you're ready. No one will hand you this map pre-digested. And while you're thinking, someone is already executing, silently, adjusting, evolving, applying exactly what you just learned here. So maybe the point isn't to understand more, but to act differently, even if small, even if imperfect. Because those who wait for total clarity never begin, and those who never begin never get anywhere. Now I want to know from you, which of these games did you realize you'd never played before? Which one are you most stuck on today? Write it in the comments. Because sometimes putting it into words is the first step to breaking the pattern. And if you want to continue learning how to play this game at another level, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Because what you saw here today is just the tip of the iceberg.